When I started this project 4 years ago, I wanted to get sober. I drank a lot of beer back then, and I really wanted to quit. So I knew I needed something that was gonna really occupy my time and something to spend my money on. At that time, I was married, I had a stepson, and my ex-wife, she owned an oceanfront property in the Outer Banks. So when I pitched my idea to her that I wanted to build a really cool dream truck, she loved the idea, and we started the process together, but we had a hard time getting sober together. I ended up having to go on my own, and the truck did what I intended. It kept me sober. I just celebrated 3+ years sober, and I give credit to taking on a project of this caliber. The truck does represent my personality. It's tough and rough around the edges. It's a go anywhere, do anything. I kind of look at it as like a survival type of knife. You know, you have a knife that has all kinds of different gadgets on it. That's how I look at this truck. The truck only has 14,000 miles on it, and it's got a Caterpillar engine. It's got an Allison transmission, which has a great track record. I've got quite a bit of tools and storage compartments out here too. This is the electrical, like I'll call it the utility closet. So it's the back side of where the electrical inverter and charge controller is on the inside. Breaker box is up top. That's a transfer switch, and then the diesel heater. I added this box just for my go-to daily tools. All of these slide out drawers, you know, I built I saw an opportunity, so I went for it. And they've all just worked out well. This drawer, I keep a lot of the long stuff. This thing here really helps get leverage if you've got to pry one of these tires off the rim or lifting it up off of the ground. It really helps having it. Great storage for extra long stuff. I call this area the basement. This is where both water systems are stored. The 100-gallon tank, the 45-gallon tank, the propane tanks. This is another shower, more tools. This drawer can slide out from either side. It's 8 feet long. You could, if you were set up somewhere for a week or more and you needed a big table or a workbench, you could take the whole thing out, flip it over, and you've got a 8-foot by 3-foot table. In here, I mainly keep some of my fishing rods that I don't want the road grime getting on, and extra clean storage. This is the truck's factory battery compartment, which I also use as tool storage. Some of my tool bags that go with me everywhere. These trucks come with a 4-battery system, but it's very common to go back to a 2-battery system. And I've got its own charge controller, which goes into the 2 100-watt panels that are up there on top of the roof rack. These toolboxes here are more just things that I use on a regular basis. The cords here, the big one is your shore power, which I can run into the generator, or if I wanted to plug in somewhere for extended periods, I could. And then we've got the Honda. That's one of the super quiet inverter generators. This is your air cleaner. So I made this out of a trash can. That's actually a residential roof vent, but it works great. The truck is equipped with another button on the other side. You turn a couple of valves and the whole cab will turn itself all the way up to where the front of that roof rack will end up down here. And you can get up there and sit on top of the engine to work on it. The truck is very easy to work on. They made it to where just about anybody can work on it and service it out in the field. These are the lift points that we spoke of earlier. The military has known to lift these trucks with a helicopter. So there's 4 of these, 2 in the front, 2 more in the back. I've removed the ones in the back just to get away from some weight because I was never going to use them for what they were intended for. For me, it's just another tie point. I've got the generator chained in so nobody can steal the generator. This area has a lot of good storage. Also up there in that red bag is an Eskimo insulated tent that pops up. I've kept my motorcycle in that at times. What you're looking at there is the back side of the 8K BTU AC that's in the box. I was riding down the interstate in the back seat of my mom's car, and I remember seeing a motorhome go by, and I asked my mom, I was like, what is that? And she explained to me that you could drive your house really anywhere you wanted to go, and that people did that. And I think that's where the dream started. 10 years later, I bought my first motorhome when I was in my early 20s. I restored that one, did a few short trips, and ended up selling it for profit, and I was hooked. I got into social media, kind of documenting some of my build projects, and it turned into a business. People would ask me if I wanted to help them with theirs. I had no real experience, but with having the internet, I turned to YouTube and I learned how to work on RVs. I'd say I've bought and restored and sold 20+ motorhomes of all different shapes and sizes. When I discovered that you could just buy an ambulance box and convert it into a habitat, I liked that idea. You know, working on campers for so many years, I've noticed that they're built out of the lightest and the cheapest materials, and they fail, and they're just not of quality. When I discovered that I could build something out of an ambulance box, that's where the search started. In my searching, I came across the military, the Stewart and Stevenson trucks. So the box came first. I spent 6 months to almost a year prepping that. And then when I found this truck, I knew that's the route that I was gonna go, and I knew that I wouldn't have too hard of a time pairing the two together. It's kind of hard to explain how well some of it came together. I've worked on this truck physically, I mean, I wanna say every day, but if I wasn't hands-on with the truck, I was thinking about the truck. I mean, I have been consumed with this truck for 4 years. Now, for the past 3 years, 3.5 years, it's just been me and my dog. I have a 5-year-old German Shepherd. We've done quite a bit of traveling in the truck. These are really handy when you're just out on the beach. Perfect spot, especially when you got both of them there. There's a lot of potential under here. I've thought about closing this off with some kind of a fabric to where when you're showering up top, that water doesn't just drape down on you. But normally I'm always outside at a beach or out in the field, so it doesn't matter. But you could really make this area more covered and utilize it more. This is just an extra backpack I had, but it's a good quality one. I use this as for outside trash. I don't ever put any food or anything like that in here, but for empty water bottles and clean trash, this compartment's pretty cool. This is my lawn care compartment. So I've got Milwaukee weed eater, pole saw, there's collapsible rake, plenty of weed eater string. This one is just more gear. Everything has multiple purposes too. Like that shovel that holds this up, I've had to use this to help dig me out the time that I did get stuck on the beach. The short hose on this side, which when I'm set up at an event or out on the beach, so handy just to rinse your feet off before you go in, rinse the dog off. Yeah, one thing I never followed through with that I think would be a great addition to the truck would be some kind of a rain collection, a solution to catch some water to replenish your water tanks, something I would work on in the future. And this is that same long drawer from the other side, which you can access from either side. These boxes here I actually made too. I just decided to turn it into toolboxes. This one I converted into a rag storage. This is a factory toolbox, which is huge. It goes back like 3 feet. It's much bigger than you would think it is. Right now, I just have the cast iron pots and pans in here. I was planning to build a custom, like a composting toilet system, cut the floor out, and the waste could fall into a tank system here to where you wouldn't have to deal with it from the inside. You could come outside and tend to it. It was just an option, but another great storage area. The ambulance box stopped here. I cut this out and built this room on as extra sleeping and storage, and it's worked out great. It does have 2 hatches for extra airflow and a large window. So once you come in to the right, we have, this is the toilet. I'm using a cassette toilet. When I built this room on, I added some marker lights to the outside of the box. I found this remote operated box. So I have a remote inside the cab, and it's powered by tool batteries, which I have plenty of. So from the cab, I can turn my running lights on and off as needed. This room, it's actually pretty spacious. It's about 6.5 feet wide, long, 3.5 feet wide, deep. I mean, you could definitely sleep a child or a small person up there with no problem at all. Added air conditioner. This is a 8K BTU, just a regular window unit AC. This all runs straight off the solar. We got a television up here. I don't watch much TV. I do watch a lot of YouTube. And this will also swivel around if I wanted it to. I mounted a lot of my electrical here just for convenience sake. This system goes into 600 amp hours of battery, which is your main battery bank. The cover for the back porch, we'll get out there. There's 2 380 watt panels, which is 760 watts, that keeps the 600 amp hours charged up. On the back side of this wall is the actual electrical compartment where the main breakers, the diesel heater. This is the output of the diesel heater. This Blue Eddy has kind of just lived here for the whole time. I bought it as I could take it in and out, but it found a home there and it works great, and it goes into the 2 solar panels that you see on the sides that cover the wheel wells. So that 200 watts is always feeding into this as just an extra power source. All of the storage compartments that are in here, this is the actual ambulance layout. This was the sliding doors. I mean, I didn't really change much. The only thing I changed was everything in here was white or silver, and I wanted the darker theme, so I kept everything. I mean, it's super stable, sturdy. I did add a residential sink and faucet, but the truck also has 2 water systems. I've got a 100-gallon water bladder. I have a 50-foot hose on the driver's side, a 10-foot hose on the passenger side, so I can wash the truck if I get to an event and I'm out in a field, or my 45-gallon tank that's supplies both showers. If I run low on that, I can use the 100-gallon to keep my 45-gallon topped off. I'm a big fan of the Milwaukee Packouts, so I've utilized a lot of that stuff throughout. I've always preferred sleeping in hammocks. I kind of just, when I found this, I learned I've had a back issue, not a major back issue, but lower back pain from time to time. And once I started sleeping in a hammock, I noticed that I slept better and I didn't have any back problems. So I've just kind of kept it going, and it works extremely well. And being in the the box, when I'm in the hammock, I can access everything. So the hammocks have just worked out good for me. I know it's not for everyone, and when I decided I was gonna sell the truck, I knew that this could be an issue with potential buyers. So I turned my kitchenette into this will now fold up. You put these onto the floor, then this piece of wood slides out. It makes a 4 foot wide by 6 foot long bed with an air mattress. Pretty simple setup. So when I started this project a few years ago, I did a all wood ceiling and I liked it. It looked awesome. But every time I come in here, my hair would, not even if I wasn't touching it, just the little flyaways would catch. And for one, it would pull them out of my head, but then you'd see little hairs hanging everywhere. So I found this stuff. It's a foam material, peel and stick. And I just figured for the low cost and I liked the look of it, it works great. I'm 5'11", so this is 5'11", 6 foot-ish, and then I guess we're dealing with about 5'10" for your main ceiling height. But one thing I really love about the ambulance boxes, and I would definitely build with them again, is the amount of storage, and it's all strategically placed well. There's also under here, there's another storage that's factory from the ambulance. And of course, it's not very easy to get to, which is why I only put the Mountain House meals under there. But there's another, I'd say a good 3 weeks worth of emergency food storage that's stashed away under there. These compartments just kind of catch a lot of the things that you would need on a regular basis. A lot of kitchen equipment. If I was going out to buy groceries, you know, this is where I would throw a lot of the chips and snacks and such. This is just an old cutting board I had that happened to fit right in that space. I recently just added this 2-burner propane with the oven. This is the wiring which I chose to leave exposed. I kind of liked the industrial look of it. Back here, this is just another little hanging spot. I've found that skateboards can act as a great dolly for moving things around. I use them in the shop often just for moving sheets of plywood or anything heavy that it's awkward to carry. This storage up here actually came out of my other truck and it just worked so well in here. Love an air fryer. Honestly, now that I've learned about an air fryer in the last couple of years, that's probably my go-to kitchen appliance. You can sit on any of that. Little hooks everywhere for pots, pans, cups.
Hey friends, this is Justin from Mobile Dwellings, and I'm sorry Chad to interrupt you, but if you are also building a rig like Chad's, you're going to need to buy solar panels, lithium batteries, inverters, and more. My favorite place to get those is at signaturesolar.com. If you wait for a day like today, when things are deeply discounted for Black Friday, you're going to get some great deals. Right now they have 10% off lithium batteries, 10% off inverters if you buy a battery, and $100 flat rate shipping. Use my code MOBILEGET50 to get an additional $50 off your order. Thank you guys for watching, and it's back to you, Chad.
The porch is solid. It stays out all the time. Back here is a shower, one of the showers. The shower head would come out, tuck in up here, but I use a Camp Lux instant water heater. Done great for almost 4 years. But this compartment is much larger than it looks. It goes back in probably 2.5 feet. I've got a little towel rack in there. This area stays good and dry, and it's worked out great. This is definitely a good little hangout spot for when you're on the beach. The chains are kind of decorative. The porch is solid without them. I added these just a couple of years ago, mainly because I picked up this chain at a yard sale and I liked it and I had it laying around, so I didn't know what else to do with it. And if you wanted to put some extra dirt bikes or something back here, you could. Solar panels up top act as a great shade. They're sealed, no water comes through. Got a gas fire pit, propane fire pit, and a wood burning fire pit. I do a lot of outside cooking. I've got a little tripod that's mounted to the side of the truck to where you can hang a Dutch oven. I have a tent room that goes with this also that encapsulates this whole room. And I've used it out on the beach a few times. It works great. I think the porch is about 7 feet long by 8 feet wide. These ladders also could come down with very little effort. They're just bolted on with 2 bolts, just like the back one was, to where you can kind of exit off of either side. But when I'm traveling, they act as kind of like a little rail to keep everything that's up here stays up here. I mean, the truck cruises good at 60 miles an hour, and anything that's sitting back here, I've never had any issues with it blowing off. So right now the truck doesn't have door handles on it, and there's a reason for that. They were stolen before I got it, and it's a common item that is stolen off of these trucks. And there's only one place out there that sells them, and that's Midwest Military. And they want $350 for 2 plastic door handles. I'm gonna go ahead and order the $350 ones once I have a buyer. But for now, I don't need them because it's kind of a safety feature for me, the way I get in. And when the truck is closed, I have the master locks that I've had welded on. So the truck is extremely secure. It's actually pretty spacious in here. It really doubles for me when I get to where I'm going. I use this as a storage area. You know, I've got several bags and my motorcycle gear. Normally there's a motorcycle up front on the rack. This is still a functioning turret, which I've recently heard is worth some big money, but I haven't really looked into it. I can't really use it anymore because I've built the roof rack on top. That's why I went with a hard top. Before I built the roof rack, I had a soft cover to where I could take it off in the summertime and actually had a huge sunroof. It was pretty neat, but I never utilized it, and I wanted the roof rack up top, so I just made this solid cover, and it's sealed tight. No leaks or anything in the cab now. If you pull this off, this is the only LMTV that I've seen that is armored from the military. They armored it. This is all AR-500 steel. It adds quite a bit of weight, but it also adds a big insulator factor, a noise dampener. The truck is extremely quiet. You'll see some people that they ride down the road with headsets on just to where they can talk to the person in the passenger seat. This truck would surprise you. The whole floor is armored, and the armor comes up to just below where the air condition is added. These are all cedar panels that I put in mainly for cosmetic purposes. I did also add another layer of insulation and some Dynamat, the stickle and noise reduction. This is actually like an absorbent mat instead of using Stay Dry. I just use it for my floor mats, you know, when I'm getting in and out and my feet are wet. These seats actually came out of a Toyota Scion. Had them in an old hot rod truck, and I was redoing the seats in the hot rod, and one day I came out and I was like, man, I hated the seats that were in here. So I was like, well, let's see if they work. And sure enough, I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better seat for this truck. I just use a Milwaukee radio. This has Bluetooth, so if I wanted to listen to some tunes going down the road, this works just well for me. It's not a massive sound system, but it's enough to hear some music. As I've matured and built this truck, now I want less stuff, more freedom. That's why I've recently built out a van. It's just less, it's more enjoyment. I can go more places. I want to see the world, but I've decided that I don't think I want to do it in this truck. I guess it's been almost 2 years ago that I started the van. I ran out of money building the truck, so I needed to make some money. I figured the best way for me to make a large sum of money was to buy a van and do a 6-month build out on the van and then sell it for profit. Well, last winter, we were getting one of the worst winters that we've had in a long time. It was extremely cold, and the van was pretty much done, and I was ready to list it. I'd actually already listed it for sale. We had a terrible forecast coming, and I deal with seasonal depression. I'm a cold-natured person. So when I saw that forecast coming, I was like, well, this is a great opportunity to get in this van. Let's go down to Florida and just explore, get away from the cold weather, and make sure that the van is ready to be sold. A few weeks, maybe a month or so into my van life trip, and it hit me. I knew I wasn't gonna sell the van. I just knew that my time was coming to an end with this truck. I can't afford to keep them both. I gained a lot, I learned a lot, and to me, that's what I'm gonna take away from it. So I wanna see the world. There's so much that I wanna see and experience. If you're thinking about downsizing, for whether it's to save money or because of just the current condition in the world, I mean, there's a lot going on. Times have changed, and now with being remote work is out there and the ability to make money on social media, I would highly encourage anybody that's considering a tiny lifestyle, whether it's van life or overlanding or RV life, reach out to me. I'll talk to anybody about it. You know, I'll tell you the pros and cons and what I've learned over the years. I love small spaces. I mean, even as a kid, my room was in the basement of my mother's house, and I had such a big area that I would build blanket forts because I liked small spaces. I've lived in some big houses and I've paid those big mortgages. I love what comes from the tiny lifestyle.
Thank you so much, Chad, for showing off your rig. If you want to see how much he's listed it for or find out more information, there's a Facebook Marketplace linked below to Chad's rig. And if you also want to show off your rig, you've built something cool, you've traveled the world, perhaps you're done living in it, that's totally okay. I really want to tell your story and show the world what you've built. So check out the description below where you will see a Google form where you can submit your rig, and I'll send you an email. See you guys in the next one.